Hello friends, I hope you all are doing good. So in this lecture, we will study the 8th unit of our data science syllabus, which is clustering. So in this lecture, we will demonstrate application of k-mean clustering in Python. So let's begin our lecture without further delay. So what is clustering? Clustering means grouping data into clusters where data points in the same group are more similar to each other. So we basically group the data into cluster because that data are having some same similar properties. So we group them into cluster. What is k-means? K-means is an unsupervised learning algorithm that groups data into cluster based on similarities without needing labeled data. K represents a value, like we can have one mean cluster, two mean cluster, three mean cluster. So k is basically a general letter to demonstrate any mean of clustering. What are the steps in k-means clustering? Firstly, we will initialize k centroids randomly chosen in initially, because we have to choose. Suppose we are doing for 2, so we have to choose two centroids randomly. Then we'll assign each data point to the nearest centroid by using the distance formula, which is nothing but under root of x2 minus x1 whole square plus y2 minus y1 whole square. Then in the third step, we will recalculate centroids by finding the average positions of points in each cluster. And in the fourth step, we will repeat steps 2 and step 3 until the centroids don't change or we reach the maximum iteration. So when we'll got the last two steps of the centroid same, we will just stop our calculation, and that will be the final clusters of our data. Let us understand this through a calculation. Suppose the value of k is 2 and we have the data 1 comma 2, 2 comma 3, 3 comma 4, 4 comma 5, 6 comma 7 and 7 comma 8. Suppose we made initially two clusters by 1 comma a cluster in which we have put only 1 comma 2 and the remaining all elements in the cluster number 2, which have 2 comma 3 and so on. So we have picked the centroid first as 1 comma 2 and the centroid 2 as 2 comma 3. Now we will calculate the distance of all these data points from our centroid. So calculating the distance of 1 comma 2 from 1 comma 2, we will get 0, and from 2 comma 3 we will get 2 minus 1 plus mod of 3 minus 2, which is nothing but 1 plus 1, 1 plus 1 2. So this means that 1 comma 2 is 0 distance from 1 comma 2. So it means that the 1 comma 2 point is nearest from 1 comma 2 than 2 comma 3. So we'll put the 1 comma 2 in the cluster number 1. Now 2 comma 3. 2 again 2 comma 3 is 1 is 2 distance from 1 comma 2, but it is 0 distance from 2 comma 3. So that's why we will put it in cluster number 2. And then we'll calculate the distance of 3 comma 4 from 1 comma 2 and 2 comma 3, and the whosoever distance will be the less, 3 comma 4 will be put into that cluster. As you can see that 3 minus 1 is 2 plus 4 minus 2 is 2, so we'll get the distance 4 from 1 comma 2, but the distance from 2 comma 3 is 4, is 3 minus 2 1 plus 4 minus 3 1. The distance is only 2, so the cluster number 2 is near from point 3 comma 4. So as you can see that there is a pattern followed: 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. So the distance is just increasing by 2, and here the distance is decreasing by 2, 2, 0, and then increasing 2, 4, 6, 8. So the cluster number 2 distance will be less from the cluster number 1 distance from the point 3 comma 2 comma 3. So the remaining all the values will be put in the cluster number 2. So now we'll get the clusters one in which we have only 1 comma 2 and the remaining all the points in cluster number 2. So now we'll calculate the mean, the centroid again. So the formula to calculate centroid is calculating all the adding all the x point divided by the total number of x point and adding all the y points divided by total number of y points. So here we have only 1 comma 2. So the centroid of this cluster will be 1 comma 2. And to calculate the centroid of this, we'll just add all these values like we have done. And after calculation, we'll get our new cluster as 2 comma 3. Wait, no, we'll get 5 comma 6 because we will add 3, 3, 4, 6, 8, 7. So 3 plus 3, 12, 12 plus 4, 16, plus 6, 22, 22 plus 8, 30, and 30 plus 6 is 36. And 36 divided by 6 is 5, 30. And so our new centroid is 1 comma 2 and 5 comma 6. So we'll again calculate the distance of 1 comma 2 of all the points from 1 comma 2 and 5 comma 6, and we'll again assign the all data into different cluster. So now you can see by calculating we got 1 comma 2, 2 comma 3 and 3 comma 4 in cluster number 1, and 4 comma 5, 6 comma 7, 7 comma 8, 8 comma 9 in second cluster. So again calculating the centroid, 1 plus 2 plus 3 divided by 3 is nothing, just 2, and calculating the y average of the y coordinate is 3. So the centroid of the first cluster is 2 comma 3 and the centroid of second cluster is adding all the x coordinate divided by 4 and adding all the y coordinate divided by 4 is 6.25 and 7.25. So we get the next cluster as 2 comma 3 and 6.25 comma 7.25. Again repeating the same step, calculating the distance of all the data set from the centroid points and again forming a cluster, and then again calculating the centroid, and then again calculating the centroid of the x and y coordinate and performing and repeating the steps. So as you can see that after in this step, we'll calculating the distance and assigning the clusters and calculating the centroids. We got 2.5 comma 3.5 and 7 comma 8 is the correct coordinate because the clustered value has matched here. So now let's move forward to the code demonstration. Here's a Python code to show how k-mean clustering works. Just wait a second, guys. Yes, so moving forward to the code part, first we have to import the NumPy library, the matplotlib, and the k-means method from sklearn.cluster and make blobs from sklearn.datasets. Now we'll generate synthetic data flow clustering. So we have a samples of 300 and we are applying on the four centroids and cluster standard equal to zero point 0.6 and random state value which is equal to 0. Now applying k-means with k equals to 4. And we have used the k-mean function and applying the clusters, we are making the four clusters and the random state 0. And by using the fit method, we are passing our data set. Now we'll predicting the clusters for each data point. Y means equal to k means dot predict is. We are predicting the R clusters. Now plotting the clusters and centroid. By the scatter method, we are plotting in the 0 and 1 and C equal to Y K means and S equal to 30 and C map equal to what is the type of the map and scatter and marker equal to X red And in the title passed we have written K means clustering, and the label is feature 1 and feature 2, and then the show method. So now we'll run the code. So as you can see that we got four clusters: green, yellow, purple, and blue. So the all the data in the particular cluster have some similarities. That's why they are grouped into that cluster, because they all acquire some similar properties. So that's why we made clusters to group our data. So this is how clustering works.